And welcome back, my peeps. Good morning, Romer. How you guys doing today? So before you think I'm high, I'm here to tell you it's no lie. We've ended up with this guy, a sty right in the bottom of my eye. And it hurts like heck. But we're gonna keep this video moving forward. And the good news is that when we built this tank in our video last week, we also put in this shower pan and the drain and plumbed it down through the bottom of the van, and we've recorded it all, which means you guys don't need to put up with this guy that we call Sty in my eye. So without wasting any of your guys' time, let's get started on the project. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our drain into our shower pan and go down through the floor of the van to where our gray tank's going to be. So to get this preset, I've gone and put these cutoffs onto our framing, which fit tight around the shower pan as well as the toilet. Once we have this hole drilled, we know nothing's going to shift or move or any of that on us. So the drain for this shower pan from the manufacturer, they call it a 2-inch drain. It really doesn't make sense to me because if you go buy or go to a hardware store and look at a 2-inch drain, they're freaking massive. They got like a 2-inch pipe coming through them, but I don't know how it would fit that hole. But I don't claim to be a plumber. I don't pretend to be a plumber. Nor do I actually want to be a plumber. I'm just a jack of all trades trying to build a van. You guys already know that. So ours is a 2.5-inch flange. This inset measures 2.5 inches from inside to inside. And the way I look at it is the drain should sit directly down inside there. So when your water runs across, there's no lip there. It's going to go down into there and into the drain. Sounds pretty standard. So now, to drill this hole for the drain, it says on the package, if you look here, it says for 1 3/4 hole. So taking an 1 3/4 hole saw, we drilled into a piece of plywood to see if it fit, and it doesn't. The hole's too small. So it's a good thing we tested it beforehand, because if we drilled an 1 3/4 hole into there to try and make it larger afterwards, would be a serious pain in the butt. So in my toolkit, my next size up is a 2-inch hole saw. When I drilled that into a piece of plywood, the drain fits absolutely perfect. So that's what we're going to use to drill through the van floor with. So to measure this out, to make sure we had the right place for it, we got to be very careful that we're not going to hit any of these ribs. So to measure this out, basically what I did is I put our tank in so that it sat right up against the B pillar at the front, and I was able to tell how far our fill part is going to come out as to where it's going to pull. So our tank is going to push right up against this pillar here, which is our B pillar. So if you come inside the van again, so you'll see this is the exact same piece that I was just showing you down below that the tank's going to sit right up against. So I just had to measure back. For me, it was 37 inches, and I marked with a piece of tape, in which is exactly where the center of our drain is going to be. That way we know we're not going to hit any of those ribs underneath, and we're going to have enough space between the hole and that gray tank to get all our piping in. Well, at least that's what we're hoping for. You're going to stick around to the end to find out if it worked. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tape over top of it. That is just in hopes that when we cut, it's going to prevent any type of cracking to the plastic pan. The last thing we want to do is crack our shower pan, because that would suck. Make sure our center divot is worked in so we can see where that is. So then we'll just take our 2-inch hole saw. It does have a drill bit sticking out the end, so that way you know you're going to hit center on your hole. And I'm just going to drill it. So now with that piece all drilled out, it leaves a center mark on our floor right there. So now we know exactly where we're going to drill our floor. So just to make sure we don't all blow in that hole when we drill the rest of the way through the body, I'm going to pull our toilet and our shower pan back out, and then we'll drill the rest of the way through. Woo! There we go, we got a hole. Hello! Hello! And of course, just like everything else, when we cut the fresh metal, we make sure we put primer around that exposed edge so that we don't get any rust.
Hey! Oh, somebody's happy! Oh.
Okay, so now it's time to fit the drain into the hole and down through to the bottom of the van. So with this drain, you're going to see it breaks into 5 different pieces. On the first nut, you're going to back it off, and it has a little gasket as well as a nut, and this is to attach it to your 1.5-inch pipe. Then you're going to have a secondary nut, which is what actually attaches it to the shower pan itself. In between that, you'll have a paper gasket, which is an anti-wear gasket, and your rubber gasket, which is actually going to seal it. So when we put it to the drain pan, we're gonna run a bead of white silicone around this lip. So we're gonna use a PL interior, exterior, kitchen and bath silicone that's white. And just run a nice smooth bead around our edge. And with our nice layer of silicone, we're just gonna slide it right down through the hole. Again, because we picked that perfect flange size, it centers itself. Then from the bottom side, we're gonna take our rubber gasket first, slide it up over top of our threads. Then we're gonna take the paper anti-wear gasket. That's just so when the nut goes up against it, it's not digging into your rubber. Then you take your nut and you thread that up into place. See, and there it is, nice and clean, eh? No leakage gonna happen. It's all the way through to the other side. Now, as you can notice, that's only about 1 inch and a bit deep. And if you've been following along, you know our floors are 2.5 inches thick. So to get it to actually come out the bottom of the van, we have a piece which they call a tailpipe. So this is 1.5 inch pipe, which will squeeze on to our P-trap, which I'll show you later. The seal goes down on top of our drain. That comes down on top of there. And this slides right over top of our tailpipe. And once you thread it down, you now have a pipe that can go down through your floors. Now in the van, as you know, we framed this all in so that it can only go back in one direction. So before actually bringing it in and setting it down, we're gonna apply this PL construction adhesive, which is good for plastic, stays flexible, on these ribs that you'll see on the bottom of the shower pan. Now, with that all completed, I'm gonna flip it over. And again, we know because of our framing, it's only gonna fit one direction. Just gonna line up our pipe and slide it down into place. Now let's press down on it. Make sure everything's sitting in nice and straight. We now have a shower pan in. So, we're ready to install the tank now. Which is this piece right here that you watched us assemble last video. So, to get this installed into the van, these top rails right here are what we're actually gonna mount to the bottom side of the van. So to start this off, I'm gonna take the frame side and we're just gonna remove it from the tank. Then we're gonna set it up underneath. And I did dry fit this beforehand, bringing the whole tank up. But with the whole tank and a jack, way too hard to get you guys with a camera in here as well. So I have marked the spots where the frame's gonna sit. And then we're just gonna mark a few locations where we can put some screws through. And now we're ready to drill some holes, my friends. So for this, we're putting in those 1/4 Riv Nuts, the exact same way we did all our furring strips and everything inside the van. So we're just gonna drill some holes, insert our 1/4 Riv Nuts, and there we go, we're ready to bolt it up. There she is, solid. Let me tell you how much fun that is. And I'm sorry if those angles underneath that van aren't the best, but lying on this gravel underneath there and trying to put these up, and me and Sty are having a hard time getting along as well. So take it as it is for this video, okay peeps? So you'll see when we put this bar up in, it doesn't fit quite as well because you can't get a flat spot on this edge to bolt it in, or else it'll end up sitting on an angle. And these crossbars have holes in them. So there's no way to put a bolt or a riv nut through there. So as you see, I've already drilled a few holes. So I've taken a piece of galvanized steel, exactly the same as the frame steel, but I've made these grooves in it in which it'll be able to fit up into the frame, and then we'll have something to bolt our tank frame to. You'll see, it fits right up against there. And I'll be able to bolt through the side where we put those holes. And this piece, once I get it sorted, and this piece will bolt right to there. Perfect combo. Boom. Now we can put our first plate back up. Oh. Whew. So I'll slide this up into place. What? I brought the drill in the garage. What a dummy. Whoa. And we're back. There we go. It's solid. I can move the whole van with it. We can now put this one in, which is our actual brace that's off that tank that we built. And we'll just bolt this right into place using more of our machine screws, some nuts, washers, and Loctite. Because we put this shit on everything. Another problem solved. And we're moving on to the next step again, my friends. See, look. Got all our top frames that were on our tank before. Now in place. And they are solid. These are not going anywhere. We also put the ready rods in. Now we got to find a way to get this tank up all by ourselves. I gotta say, this has got to be one of the most fun jobs we've done yet. But we're almost out of time on this video, so let's just get her done. So using a jack, a piece of wood, and our tank, we're gonna squeeze this thing up underneath here. So now that I got this laid in between the bars, so we got the bars coming down here, and we got the bars, the backside coming down, right where all our rubber is. I'm gonna slide our drain into place. Can you see that? Hopefully that means, can you see this drain? I hope so. We're gonna bring this up, and we're gonna line this with the drain at the same time as the tank coming up, so it all comes together at the same time. Just kind of lift this up just enough to be able to slide my jack underneath there without actually hitting the van with my jack. And there she is. Look at that, it worked, I think. Holy crap. Check it out. Straight onto our drain for the bottom of our shower. Goes straight into our tank. And it'll come out over here to drain out. So now we just gotta put our bottom bars on, which is literally 4 bolts away. And we're gonna put these cross braces on that we made. If you watched the tank video, this one on there. A little bit of Loctite. And do the same on this side. Just like that. And these are just going to help ensure that the bottom braces can't pull away or bend away. It makes all 4 braces work at the same time. And we have a working shower and drain. And then we finish it all off by putting these end caps on. Just give it a nice clean finished look on all 4 corners. I'll do the same thing on the front side of it. It's too dark over there though, but you get the point. Let's pull that jack out from underneath it. And let's see if it stands on its own. Of course it does. This thing is absolutely solid. It's probably overkill actually, because 20 gallons of water is about 200 pounds completely full, and the chances of us actually filling this tank up are slim to none because, well, as mentioned in our tank video, we have this piece here, which is our cap, meaning when we're boondocking or out in the middle of nowhere camping and want to have a shower, we'll be using eco-friendly soaps, meaning we can just bypass the tank completely and just let it drain straight up to the ground. But if we are in the city, then we will put our cap on and fill the tank if need be. And to add to it, I think one of my favorite parts of this design is that it only sticks, 2 or 3 inches below this level of the body, which means the transfer case, the swing arms, all that kind of stuff are all lower than the actual tank itself. You'll also notice that up the sides of our tank, you'll see that nothing touches the side of the body at all. It's all just mounted to our brackets, in which we have our rubber strips we put in there, so there's no vibration or no wear gonna happen on the tank itself. Perfect. And then finish off this gap that's between the pipe and the hole we cut out. We're gonna use some big gap filler. We're just gonna spray it up in between our crack. Then once we let it all dry off, we'll just trim it with our knife. But the downside to this stuff is that it will absorb water. So we're gonna take some of our bed armor that we've been using, and we're gonna cover that whole area off just to seal it all in, because this is water repellent. Again, since it's under the van, doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to be on there. But you get the point. So, I'm gonna clean up and you guys can take a look around. How's that sound? 1, 2, 3. Not too shabby, right? But that, my friends, is another project complete, another video in the banks. And more good news, that guy by the name of Sty that was hanging out in my eye, he realized I was invincible and had to say goodbye. But, so am I. Good night, Romer.
Perfect.